What's up, everybody? Welcome to the stream of the week 2 of the NPA 12. I'm joined by Kyriakou.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
And today we're going to have some interesting matches, I'd say. Right after the Oceania International Championships, we're going to take a look at 3 matches that have been played during the previous week. So how are you feeling about these names that we're going to feature today?
I'm really excited, not least because there's one of my team members playing Bread of the Celestic Stars. So really excited to see like how that match goes. Just having a little look at the standings as well, because all of these players like are awesome players. Like Blake Hopper is especially one that I really want to be seeing, because Blake's like exploded back into the format after, I don't know, a few years of not seeing too many results. But man, I've known Blake since what, 2014 maybe?
Yeah,
something
2014.
like that. Is like way back. So I'm really excited to see him. And like Paz I've been played against in, I'm gonna say it was Lille regional championships, like in the 2022 series. So like always good to see what Paz is doing these days. So yeah, like lots of good games. Really excited to see.
Yeah, and we're going to have like a match between 2 really experienced players, like Desu and Bopper. And then we're going to have Chichot against Pazder. There are 2 pretty new players, if you want to say that. And it'll be interesting to see how new players and very experienced ones approach a matchup. I think that's going to be a pretty interesting aspect of the games. And let's introduce the players from our first match. We've already talked about them. At least you talked about Bopper. And yeah, we can see that back in the days, he was like popping off every tournament.
Right.
Top 32 at 3 Worlds in a row. And top 4 at the US Nationals 2015. Regional Champions 2016 Houston. And then what happened from 2017?
Right. Like it's I feel like Bopper's like one of those old school players. Oh, back in those sort of days, like definitely regarded as one of the best players. I always remember when I used to go up against him on ladder, things like that. I'd always be like, "Oh, Bopper, I'm gonna lose." Right, sweet. let's just do this and move on to the next one. But like equally, Desu's like multiple regional cuts, I don't think quite cuts it. I think Desu's cut like, I don't know, maybe like 10. I would say.
Yeah.
I guess. Like I wouldn't be surprised.
Maybe a bit less, but yeah, it's still a huge
like
number.
it might be like, yeah, totally, but like definitely wouldn't be surprised. IC runner-up twice. I played him in the the Oceania International Championships in 2017, and he beat me in that one, which is when I got top 4. It was like super on form that year, and like keeping that form up going on to like the online era with the PC global finals, getting like 3rd place. It's really incredible.
Yeah, very consistent through the time. And he is in chat saying not so many regionals, so not 10, but we can expect some high number, even if it's not 10. And yeah, in 2017 in particular, he was snowballing the season with the 2nd place at the EU IC and 2nd place at the Oceania IC, as you just said. And I think we can just jump into the game and see what they brought to this week 2.
Right, and like looking at a little bit of the scores so far this week, we've got the Samurais have a 6-1 lead against unfortunately Postwick United. So this one isn't going to matter at all. Playing for a little bit of differential, which is going to be important later down the line, because we've got. But now we've got Desu coming in with Iron Bundle, Golden Go Mousehold, Great Tusk, Dragonite Volcarona, and a pretty similar overall looking team coming from Bopper too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty similar comp. but the Volcarona and the Goldango, I think, are there to make it more of a setup match. Like, Desu is going to play around his setup mons, and Bopper is playing around the field setup. It's like a pretty similar playstyle, but you have to click a move in order to set up your Pokemon to deal damage with the Nasty Plot and the Quiver Dance.
Right.
So we're going to see if this affects the game in any way, or like if this is going to be against Desu because he has to waste a turn to set up, or if Bopper is going to lose to the setup mons and to their damage.
Right, because it's risk and reward, isn't it? Because you spend that turn setting up. If your opponent can't punish you, then you can punish them back real hard and take a lot more of a commanding position in a game. So I feel like if Desu manages to get set up, then Bopper's going to have a little bit of a hard time.
Yeah, really rough time.
Equally, like leading out with this, we've got Mousehold and Dragonite coming out from Desu, and Kingambit Dragonite coming out from Bopper, as like Dragonite staring each other down, but
yeah,
Mousehold's there stopping too much damage coming out into the field.
Yeah, I'm going to translate the moves real quick. Dragonite has Terra Blast, Extreme Speed, Low Kick, and Ice Spinner, while Mousehold has Super Fang, Follow Me, and Baby Doll Eyes. So we are going to see maybe a pretty offensive move from Desu's side, because we have seen him clicking Super Fang and Terra Blast, I think, both into the Dragonite slot. And Dragonite doesn't quite commonly run Protect, so we might see a one-turn knockout here. Let's see.
Yeah, it's like, it's really risky, especially when you know that Desu has Low Kick, to leave that Kingambit on the field and not defend it in some way, shape, or form. Like, you can Terra it.
Yeah, we might see a Terra.
But it's not that. It's the Dragonite that's going Terra. And I quite like this because, Dragonite with Terra Blast, which is pretty common these days, is quite a lot of dead weight when it's not Terra flying. So you kind of have to leave your Kingambit out to dry here a little bit and make sure it's doing something on its own. But you want to make sure that Dragonite is providing enough value.
Yeah, and as you said, Dragonite pretty Terra dependent or Terra relying Pokemon, and the Kingambit here is untouched. So this risky play, plays off from Bopper, loses the Dragonite, though he has the Kingambit that now can take the knockout. No, it doesn't take the knockout on Mousehold. Okay, let's see. I don't think this is going to be very good from Bopper, because right now you could have had like maybe a Moonblast onto that Dragonite, and right now you only have broken the multiscale, but it still has Friend Guard.
Yeah, and with the fact that the Dragonite's gone Terra flying, the Fluttermane coming in is probably not going to be able to knock it out with really anything, with the Friend Guard in place still from the Mousehold. So yeah, it's going to be difficult for Bopper to sit in front of this Dragonite, especially with that Kingambit, and not feel pretty afraid of what's going to be coming his way.
Yeah, so Kingambit actually switched out, afraid of the Low Kick from the Dragonite that is Assault Vest, so can switch moves, it's not Choice Band. Dazzling Gleam from the Fluttermane, and we're going to see a pretty strong, I think, Terra Blast into the Fluttermane, not bringing it quite enough to the Focus Sash that it might carry. I think at this point it's not Focus Sash, it's the bulky Fluttermane that we've seen many people run at the Orlando Regional, and we can expect maybe a Focus Sash on the Great Tusk.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, and it's nice if that is the case and the Sash is on the Great Tusk on the switch in, then that's going to be preserved into this turn. But like, unfortunately, not its attack, because that Baby Doll Eyes is going to be dropping it straight down. Mousehold going down to a Dazzling Gleam. Pretty telegraphed here. It's just a case of whether the close combat is going to be enough.
No, it's not enough. So Baby Doll Eyes coming in clutch, for Desu, and Terra Blast is going to finish the job onto Flutter Mane. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's smart targeting there from Desu. Like the King Gambit can be kind of knocked out later, especially when you're up in pieces, and we can see that there's a Great Tusk in the back, so that's definitely not gonna really have any trouble dealing with King Gambit, especially with Terra already used on Bopper's side. So yeah, I like that play from Desu. He's like targeting the things that are actually threatening to the end game rather than, you know, trying to pick up easy knockouts.
Yeah, not splitting the damage here. Desu is going to pick up maybe the third kill in 3 turns, I think, or maybe 4 turns. So focusing one slot from Desu really paid off in this game. I think we're going to see, yeah, pretty surely an end game here with the Iron Bundle in the back that is going to finish that Great Tusk. So I think 1-0 is the current score for this BO3.
Yeah, definitely going to be the game to Desu there, and you know, low kick follow up is absolutely fine. Just make sure that Sucker Punch isn't gonna from last turn wasn't gonna cause any issues. But yeah, now there's too much there on Desu's side of the field. Quite interesting actually, because you know, in the start of the match we were talking about how Desu has the ability to set up, but it's like both of them have just you know, stood their ground and attacked into each other, and it turned out that Desu either targeted better or just had those pieces in a better position early doors, and was able to, you know, take the knockouts they needed, so that, you know, Bopper's got no ability to come back, and with no boosting or any other ways to control the game. Once you take that deficit in Pokemon, it's really uphill.
Yeah, and as you said, we talked about the setup from Desu, and he didn't brought any of the 2 setups he had, and actually brought the no setup mode. And I think we are going to see some adjustments from Bopper for this game, because maybe he expected the setup we also expected. So
right.
So let's see if there are any adjustments to the game for this game too. I think the King Gambit is not maybe the right pick here, because it's only good against the Guldango, really, I think. But let's see what they're gonna do. I think, as I was saying, that Bopper has to bring the not the Flutter Mane, sorry, the Iron Bundle in game.
Yeah, I don't disagree there, and I think the Mousehold definitely has a place in this mirror matchup, because if it's running a similar set to what Desu's running, if it's got the Super Fang, like arguably that's a form of setup. You know, getting a Pokemon to half its health and getting it ready to be knocked out by something else. A little bit more active because it does a little bit of damage as well, but definitely useful here. But also you get that follow me support, and where Bopper struggled in the last game in part was that Desu was able to just target down slots without worrying about whether there's a follow me going or there's a protect or anything else. And I think Mousehold could definitely help Bopper out there going into game 2, just to kind of control the flow of that game, especially paired with the Iron Bundle, as you mentioned. It could be quite a potent combination, I think.
Yeah, and we have seen that Desu actually picked both of his setup modes, and we are getting like railed by every pick Desu makes in these games. Like, if we talk about the setup modes, he doesn't bring them, and then we say he didn't bring those, and he bring them. So, yeah, we have the Guldango and Mousehold in lead, and they're pretty comfortable, actually.
Yeah, Flutter Mane Mousehold definitely doesn't want to see Mousehold Guldango at all. Yeah, this is really in Desu's favor, actually, because the Flutter Mane, unless you make this insane read that you can go for a ghost type move on your Flutter Mane and try to knock out the Guldango, like, there's nothing stopping Make It Rain coming out this turn and doing even if Bopper decides to reposition, get a switch going, etc., you've still got to take a make it rain to the face, and yeah, I don't think anyone likes to do that in this format.
Yeah, and actually, maybe Nasty Blood is better of a move here to punish the repositioning from Bopper's side. And we're going to see Terra from Flattermane, okay. Terra Steel, okay, and that confirms the bulky variant of this Pokemon. We're going to see Protect from the Mousehold, so let's see if Flattermane or, well, Bopper went for the prediction, didn't go for the prediction, and so this is a free Nasty Blood, I think. Yes, we're going to see a Nasty Blood.
Nice play there from Desu, just taking advantage, like you said. And you kind of need to, at this point, have a Nasty Plot to really do a lot of damage, given that there's a Steel Terror on that Fluttermane. Yeah, that's definitely something that's going to like taking. I actually really like seeing how it's played out, that Bopper kept on the King Gambit and made sure it was still coming to the match, because without the King Gambit here, I think Bopper would be a little bit in trouble.
Yeah, Goldango had 3 Make It Rain damage without any like offensive pressure on it. And we're going to see a Terra Steel, okay. And last week we have seen Goldango with the Cover Cloak, Terra Water from the Polar Bears team, and this time it's just Terra Steel, full damage, and taking a Moonblast, no drop, so this Make It Rain I think is going to pick up the KO onto King Gambit after the Super Fang.
Oh yeah, certainly could. If it's a Salt Vest that might live, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Salt Vest.
Salt Vest probably would have. But it's a tough place to be, because now the Make It Rain can come out again, but it's not going to pick up the KO on the Fluttermane this turn. Unless we see another Super Fang coming out from the Mousehold.
I think the Follow Me is quite forced this turn, not to die from another Moonblast or more Brave Shuttable. But here comes the Mousehold from Bopper's side in place of the King Gambit. We see a Moonblast, as I was saying, Follow Me is forced this turn, and the Make It Rain. Make It Rain picks up the KO on Mousehold with the +1 from the Nasty Blood. So -1 from Bopper, and let's see if he can come back for this endgame. I think we can talk about the endgame already.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, that bundle is probably going to make quite a bit of an impact here. Booster energy, meaning that it's going to be definitely faster than the Fluttermane. No way that these Pokemon are trained.
That's for sure.
That means that the Fluttermane's going to be going first. So quite nice here, because that Mousehold is down at low health. So Bopper gets to try to knock out the Mousehold and try to knock out the Goldengo in the same turn, which really puts him on the front foot. So a little bit of defensive play here, a bit of protect coming out from Desu's Mousehold. Definitely reasonable here, but it looks like the Goldengo is going to be going down this turn.
Yeah, Goldengo is... Not going down. The Goldengo takes 1 hit from the Fluttermane, resisting with 1 HP, and locks the game for Desu.
Not often that you see 1 HP these days. It's either like really far away from a KO, or it's absolutely gone. Yeah, double KO huge here, obviously, for Desu. I feel like it was a good play still from Bopper, because you think like that Moonblast covers the switch into something like Dragonite with multi-scale.
Yep.
Or it covers make sure that you take a Great Tusk down to a Sash. Does a little bit more damage to Iron Bundle on the switch in as well. So like it's a good Moonblast, but really unfortunate there for Bopper that like it didn't maybe play out how Bopper was intending.
Yeah,
let's say.
I don't know. I'm not sure about what we have witnessed. Maybe 4-0 in lead without switching. That's not what I was expecting to see, actually. But yeah, well played by Desu, analyzing the game 1 and noticing that maybe his opponent wasn't going to bring a Goldango answer for game 2. Haven't him seen Goldango in game 1.
Yeah, I really want to see how the game would have gone if that golden go went down. Yeah, I
Yeah,
really do, because I think the end game could have been quite interesting with what Bopper had on the field. And like, obviously, that's not how the game goes, and that's not how Pokemon treats us these days sometimes. But
yeah. We cannot talk
you
about
know,
the
like,
what if.
yeah, I mean, but you look back at game one, and it was fairly clean. Like, Desu was ahead the whole way through, and the
Mhm.
start of game two was the same. Bopper was just starting to kind of claw it back, but actually Desu was up in Pokemon, and you know kind of up in position in many ways, because all of Bopper's Pokemon were kind of low there. So yeah, like I think it's really well played there from Desu, and it does mean that the Samurais beat United 7-1.
7-1.
Yeah, so
Pretty,
like convincing.
pretty dominant. Yeah.
Yeah, convincing. So
And I want to point out again the ability from Desu to switch his playstyle from game 1 to game 2, so bringing the setup mons in the game 2 after baiting them in game 1. I mean,
Yeah.
in my opinion, it was a bait in game 1, because you expect the opponent to bring maybe the main damage dealers that are Volcarona and Golden Go. And we have in the chat Chuggle, who made this lo-fi compilation that we have in the background. So thank you, Chuggle. Hi. And yeah, so really well played. And we can go to the second matchup. We're going to have, I think, like, I didn't talk about this thing earlier. I talked about like mirrors from two experienced players and like between two new players, and this is quite in the middle, because Brede, I think, is a new player. I don't think he has done any IRL tournaments. Can you
He's
maybe
done one IRL tournament? It was EUIC in 2022.
Okay.
So I, in fact, played Brede there as well. And I think he went something like 5-4 or 6-3. Bred's going to correct me later.
Yeah.
But it was, it was a decent result, at least for an EIC, and for the first.
Yeah, for your first one.
event.
Yeah, of course.
So
6-3. Hi Sven. Yeah, 6-3 is the result. In Sven's opinion,
also.
we don't know. Maybe Brede is going to beat up Sven if this is incorrect. But yeah, Brede in online tournaments and specifically in draft leagues has been quite present.
Right.
Manager for 2 teams in the recent times, like in the previous 7 months, I think. Manager for Team Norway in the World Cup 2022, and in the SCL Howl Heat that we both were part of. So we know this guy. We know he puts in the effort, also for the teammates. And I don't know if you like drafted Brede because of your experience in the SCL.
So we actually retained Brede.
Ooh, okay.
He was he was our 15th draft in last year's NPA 11.
Mm-hmm.
And a player that put an interest form in, we kind of vaguely knew of, but ended up bringing him into the team, and he was one of the standout members of NPA 11 for us. And so we absolutely retained him. Great team presence, as you said, like great person to be around, and fairly consistent. So fingers crossed in this match for me, because Snow is a little bit of a difficult opponent.
Snow. No, Tomoyuki Yoshimura from Japan, top 4 at Worlds 2017, with a pretty unique team, I would say. Pretty good to see that team and that performance from him. And 2022 Japan Nationals top 4. So qualified for day 2 at Worlds last year and got top 32, I think, at Worlds. And I wanted to like put in the results the 11-0 run of the NPA 9. Like no one could beat this guy in the NPA 9. And yeah, let's see if in this metagame he can bring some kind of MVP things to the table.
Yeah, like I think because Snow was a retain as well. Actually, it's the battle of the retainees, so to speak. And like I think Snow is currently one of the most expensive players in NPA. Yeah, 33k for Snow as a retain, but like you just do it.
Yeah, it's Snow. Okay. I mean, like, everyone is afraid of this guy.
Yeah, so it's like you just.
There is a reason.
So, and it looks like I know from what we were looking at, Snow's used lots of different teams, and it's like certainly in our preparation for this match, in the Stars server, it was a case of like, let's not try to counter team. Let's just focus on playing well and a good, well-rounded team, and try and like have a 50-50 matchup. And,
let's pick maybe a team you're confident with. That's pretty much always the go-to for this kind of tournaments. But I mean, let's jump into the game. In my opinion, it's going to be pretty interesting because we see that Snow brought his team from the last Terrorune challenge. I don't know how to pronounce it. So yeah, with the Palafin control team with Roaring Moon and the last control Pokemons that are the trio Arcanine, Iron Hands, and Among Us, and then the Flutter main for the offensive pressure on the special side. And Brede with a pretty singular team, I'd say.
Yeah, like it's got a lot of options. It's definitely a team that Brede's using that's able to, start putting pressure on right off the bat with Murkrow plus Golden Go or Flutter main. Even getting Dragonite going or Great Tusk is still going to be putting pressure on. So it's one of the teams that definitely you've got to be careful when you're playing against, because if you let it get into a good position and get its speed control going and everything else, it's going to be able to punch holes in things. But if there's any team there that I think would like have a good opportunity to be able to control the pace of that, it's what Snow's using, because Arcanine, Iron Hands, and Moongus is just really difficult to break down that kind of defensive synergy.
Yeah, and from Brede, we see Murkrow and Specs Golden Go. It's a thing we have seen in early Season 1, and we have not seen this kind of combo anymore in the format. And he's bringing it back, like the offensive pressure in lead. Yeah, that's pretty oppressive, and you have to be careful when you play against it, as you said. But if there is this Gnar from the Arcanine, I think Snow is in a pretty good position, because we see that Murkrow doesn't have the taunt, if I have seen correctly, but has Brave Bird, so maybe the Among Us isn't as safe as we think.
Yeah, it's one of the things that certainly changes the matchup quite a lot. Brave Bird gives the option for a little bit of extra damage against these sort of control Pokemon, which is definitely in Brede's favour here. But that Arcanine, and knowing that the Golden Go is Specs, there's nothing really stopping the Arcanine really going on the offensive here. So nice switch out coming from Brede, bringing Great Tusk in. They're still going to take a fair amount of damage from the Flare Blitz on the switch in, but at least the Amoonguss isn't taking any damage this turn, and Arcanine just going for a Flare Blitz there. Yeah, doing quite a lot of damage to that Great Tusk, actually. I'm always impressed by how much damage Great Tusk can take on the physical side.
And actually, here, since it's not a 2 ETH KO, I think that Brede could go for an Earthquake and Brave Bird this turn, but he's choosing to go for the Tailwind. So, maybe that's a prediction, predicting that the Among Us is going to switch out. Because if Among Us stays in the field and goes for a Spore, you're not in a really good position, in my opinion.
The difficulty is that whether that Arcanine is going to be faster than the Great Tusk or not. I believe naturally Arcanine is able to outspeed Great Tusk.
Yeah,
I'm gonna double check the old stats just real quick to make sure I'm right there. But yeah, that would be the reason for a Tailwind. I think just making sure that there's no Will-O-Wisp coming out on the Great Tusk this turn, and you can take a KO, but definitely not with Terra Flying.
No, Terra Flying is going to prevent any damage to be dealt on the Arcanine, and only Among Us taking this move, and I think we're going to see a Spore pretty surely. Yeah, the Will-O-Wisp comes out on the Murkrow. Maybe Snow knows that he's slower than the Great Tusk, and Will-O-Wisp on Murkrow was going to prevent the kill on Among Us, I think 100% of the time. Because
yeah, I think
Brave Bird.
This looks like it's where you want the statuses to be, because Murkrow Burn and Intimidated is not going to be doing too much, even with Brave Bird. And you want the Great Tusk to stop, launching things out into everything.
Yeah.
So I like the way that Snow is playing this, and Terra Flying on the Arcanine is particularly difficult. Looking at Brede's team, it changes quite a lot of things in Snow's favour, I think, with the exception of Golden Go's Make It Rain maybe being a little bit more.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
But we'll have to see. Brave Bird, though, just doing absolutely nothing to this.
Yeah, no damage. -1 from the Intimidate and Burned. Murkrow is a minion on the field. And I think we're going to see a Great Tusk focus here, yeah. Maybe a Spore on the Murkrow to cover from a switch out, but I don't think Brede is ever going to switch that, risking to go to sleep.
Yeah, like the side Pollen Puff there is, I think, really good.
Yeah,
making sure that the Arcanine is able, if it's at full health, maybe even Terra Flying would be able to take a Make It Rain from Specs Golden Go. So having that little bit of extra health there might just change how a later game scenario plays out and makes that Arcanine viable against the Golden Go that we know is in the pack for Brede.
Maybe he can leave a Make It Rain, but not with the Terra, in my opinion. Maybe Choice Packs, Terra, Steel is too much for that Arcanine to leave without the Fire type. But we see the Iron Hands coming in, and that's for sure a Pokemon that can take the Make It Rain.
yeah, just a little bit.
Brave Bird, 2 HP.
Iron Hands is so good.
Yeah,
it's just so good. Flare Blitz there, not knocking out the Murkrow, which
and Burn not doing his job.
Not doing it. Yeah, no, Murkrow is surviving this turn. Actually, it's probably a nicer position for
Snow.
To be
Yeah,
in.
Absolutely.
Now Brede doesn't get a free switch into anything in the back. It's like the Golden Go coming in here, especially while Tailwind's just. I think it's only got one turn left, if I've counted correctly.
Yeah.
Would have been a really nice Pokemon to get in that turn to actually put some pressure back on to both Arcanine and get a little bit of damage on the hands as well.
Yeah, for sure. And we see the Murkrow switching out for the Golden Go. I think here Brede wants to set up a Tailwind once again before that Murkrow passing out forever. And here we see the Among Us making his way back in on the field and protect from the Great Tusk, keeping it alive for one turn more. I think next turn is going to be his last, maybe.
Ooh, I was a little bit. Well, I guess that makes sense with the Murkrow on very low health that you'd target into the Great Tusk there. So I guess that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and Brede was pretty confident with the switch out, actually, because if Flare Blitz went on that slot, this turn would have been completely different from his side.
And now it's a case of whether or not this Arcanine is faster than the Great Tusk now that there's no Tailwind on the field. So if Arcanine's able to go first, it could knock out the Tusk before anything goes on, or even just do a lot of damage to that Golden Go and leave whatever's in the back, the Iron Hands and something else. Probably not the Palafin, maybe the Fluttermane, by the way that this is being played out.
Yeah, Palafin, you want that Pokemon in lead, usually.
Yeah, it's just between Fluttermane and Roaring Moon, but I feel like Fluttermane is probably more likely, given that we haven't seen the Roaring Moon so far. So it depends on how this plays out, but nice protect
from the Arcanine. So we can expect maybe that Snow doesn't have extreme speed on the Arcanine. So double support move with the Will-O-Wisp and Snarl. I think maybe extreme speed here would have been the right... I don't know if extreme speed here would have been the right play, because you would have left like your Amogus doing nothing against the Golden Go, and I think Snow wanted to have a free switch on the side of Arcanine to not have a useless slot. So
the other thing that changes that turn is that the Make It Rain goes off and drops Golden Go's special attack. So you're kind of mitigating some of the damage. If it couldn't survive Make It Rain before, it might be in a position to do it with the special attack drop, maybe.
Yeah, I think it survives for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice way to play the turn. And you get the opportunity to, if Amogus gets knocked out, then you get a free switch into Iron Hands that can fake out either the Great Tusk or the Golden Go, or you bring in either Fluttermane or Roaring Moon, both of which would be fairly likely to be able to knock out the Great Tusk. Certainly the Fluttermane would be, but maybe the Roaring Moon would be as well, depending on how it's trained. And both put a little bit of pressure at least onto the Golden Go as well, or allow the Arcanine to do so.
Yeah, I think Golden Go after the Terra is going to be pressured enough by the Iron Hands, by the Drain Punch, or the Close Combat, whatever Snow is running, and switch out from the Golden Go to prevent that from happening. And Rip Bonnet, or Bonnet, I'm not sure how this is pronounced. Bonnet is French, but yeah, Amogus, like ugly Amogus coming on the field, and taking a Flare Blitz, reducing it to 50 HP, and where are we going to see? Heavy Slam. Okay. Pretty
interesting.
Yeah, interesting move, I would describe it.
Yeah, because you'd kind of expect a Close Combat or a Drain Punch coming into the Great Tusk rather than the Heavy Slam, because I don't know how heavy Great Tusk is actually, how much damage that would do.
That's the thing. I don't know. I'm going to calc it real quick.
Right, I'm going to assume that Iron Hands is pretty heavy. Like he looks pretty heavy, so I'm going to assume that's the case. But Great Tusk looks like they're pretty heavy as well. So I guess after the defense drops, it would have easily knocked it out, I would say.
Yeah, Heavy Slam has 40 base power on the Great Tusk.
Right. Okay.
So
interesting.
He was probably predicting a Fluttermane coming in. And that's the only reason I can see behind going for a Heavy Slam.
Nice KO there, Brede, getting the KO on the Fluttermane on the switch in from Iron Hands, but no preserving the Iron Hands, and it looks like this Flare Blitz gonna knock out the Great Tusk this turn. So you need to knock out the Fluttermane if you're Brede, but now your ways of being able to do damage to the Iron Hands that Snow has in the back is they're pretty low. I don't think the Brave Bird from the burned Macro is going to hurt the Iron Hands enough. At least it's not intimidated anymore, that's all I'll say.
Yeah, so I mean it's going to one shot for sure.
But then, yeah, you've got the Golden Go, and you kind of want the Golden Go to be back to Ghost type now, in this position. So yeah, really tough game there for Brede, but really, really expertly played there by Snow. You can see like the consistency that comes out from both the performances and in NPA.
Yeah,
you can kind of like you can definitely see watching this how Snow got to an 11-0 record,
and how people are going to will to pay 33k to retain this guy. I mean, very, very consistent throughout the first game, as you said, and throughout the years, I would say. And here we are going to see a switch out from the Golden Go. Yeah. This game is about to go to timer. You sure? I don't think so.
I think
Come on.
I think that's all she wrote. I mean, you know, you can I like what Brede's trying to do here, but it's definitely too late in the match for any way to come back, just because the Brute Bonnet is slower than the Arcanine. So, you know, whether it's Fake Out and Flare Blitz or really any other combination of damaging attacks, it's always going to go kind of roughly the same way.
Yeah, the win condition here from Brede was Snow having a stroke, maybe, and that's not the case. So,
you know, like flipping and pressing the run button.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'd love to see here, seeing what Brede is running, and Steel Beam is in play. I'd love to see how much damage the Steel Beam does to Iron Hands.
Yeah, I'm curious about it.
Just to see.
Yeah, come on.
See.
Brede.
Bread.
No.
Honestly, if there's no Steel Beam here. Do you know what? Bread's off the team. That's it.
I mean, how could it be on the team after this play?
Honestly, goodbye, Bread. Goodbye.
Yeah, it's been nice to have him in the stars.
But yeah, Make It Rain, not doing enough. I'm guessing it's probably going to be a Drain Punch coming out from the way that.
Oh, why his KO?
Constructed.
I didn't expect this to kill, actually.
Yeah, I mean, Hands is Hands, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really, that's all you can say about it. And I guess given that it's choice specs, maybe Brede's trained it to be a bit faster, less bulky. And maybe it's a little bit more of an offensive Iron Hand. So
yeah, we can check the HP stat maybe in the preview of game 2, because I think we have seen max HP Golden Go for Desu, and yeah, this is not the case, obviously, because of the Drain Punch being a one-hit knockout. I didn't expect that, as I said, but yeah, that makes sense. And
it's got some health, but not a lot.
Yeah, we saw like Ben turning on the right and checking the EV spreads.
Yeah. I don't normally get Showdown behind the mic, so you know I'm taking it.
Yeah.
All right, so like coming to game 2. So obviously Snow was in a pretty good position from the early game. Arcanine Amoonguss doing what it's done in every year that it's being allowed in the format. It slowed the pace of the game down, even though Snow was playing quite offensively.
Yeah.
It kind of shut Brede down really quite quickly, and caused a lot of problems. So the question is like how is Brede going to come back from this and like adjust, because it looks like that Murkrow Golden Go is going to be coming out from Brede again, and I'm not sure exactly like how you take down the Arcanine with this lead, or do enough work to it while still, you know, trying to be active with the Murkrow as well.
Yeah, and Great Tusk is probably the main source of damage onto the Arcanine, but it cannot do that if it's the only attacker on the field, because the Terra Flying is going to come into play once again, and the burn on the Murkrow is going to make it useless, and this is going to be a 1v2 once again. So Brede needs to put himself in a position where he has the Great Tusk and Golden Go both on the field, but it's not that easy in my opinion. Really not that easy.
No, not at all. And we see Roaring Moon coming out, so there's a little bit of an adjustment there.
Yep.
And I'm wondering, like, okay, so is this booster energy coming out? Because if it's booster energy, yeah, okay, booster energy, and that's that going to
be the attack.
So yeah, so all right, so Roaring Moon's coming out onto the field swinging, but it's definitely not going to appreciate any attacks coming out from
the Golden Go
this time. And I guess the question is now that we've seen the Roaring Moon, is that going to be the Pokemon to Terra Flying, or is it just a regular attack boosting one with Throat Chop and maybe still like it's which one of them is going to become floating?
I don't know. If you are acrobatics, you know you are Terra relying, and you cannot Terra the Arcanine to survive the Earthquake or the Headlong Rush from the Great Tusk. So I think Snow might have a regular Roaring Moon with maybe Tailwind as fourth.
Well, potentially, yeah. And Tailwind would make sense coming out in this sort of matchup where you're facing off against Tailwind. So Protect coming out here from Roaring Moon, so that's not going to do any damage at all for the Make It Rain that's coming out from Brede's side of the field.
Steel Beam.
Steel Beam! Okay, right, Bread's back on the team. Didn't land, but...
and it takes half of its HP also. Like, even if it goes on the Protect, I didn't know that.
It's one of the... Because I played a little bit of Steel Beam Series 1, and it's unfortunate. I mean, that's a real tough turn there for Brede. You lose pretty much all of your damage turn 1.
Yeah, and you had the Earthquake, but you probably have 2 Terra Flying Mons on the opposite side, so it's going to deal damage really only to one of them. And I don't know, like, yeah, they say Snow is super lame for denying the animation, so probably Brede was off the team back in, and right now Snow is off the team. So we're going to see maybe some draft adjustments right here in this game.
Definitely. I am a little bit interested to see what would happen if maybe Make It Rain came out from Brede there and at least did some damage to the Arcanine, but I don't think it changes the way that this game is going to go too much, especially with the Terra Flying coming out from the Roaring Moon there. That's going to start doing a lot of damage really quickly, and definitely the last Pokemon that Great Tusk wants to see.
Sunny Day going to boost the damage from the Great Tusk and not the damage of the Roaring Moon, because the Photosynthesis already procced on the booster energy. And Headlong Rush going to... I don't know. Here, Brede probably after the turn 1 couldn't come back in any way, even if here the Headlong Rush went on the Iron Hands. I mean, it's a pretty game, a pretty difficult game.
Yeah, I feel like... Okay, so I feel like the way that Brede's playing this is against a player that's as good as Snow. Sometimes you've got to take a bit of a swing, and especially when you're one game down. So I feel like Brede's like trying to go for plays and maybe catch Snow off guard, but Snow's called it like exactly just done the safe thing in 2 turns. 2 turns in a row, and it's like there's no. It's not a risk reward situation for Snow. He can just like switch in and play the safe play.
Brede
there's not many ways for Brede to really punish it.
Yeah, he was trying to capitalize on some kind of mistakes, but Snow, here kind of playing it pretty safely, as you said, and maybe Brede had to go for some predictions and not to go for the mistakes from his opponents. And yeah, that's kind of the way the BO3 could have gone, whatever the verb is, and yeah, here I think it's pretty locked for Snow. I don't think that Breda has any chance of knocking that Roaring Moon out.
I think with a stun boost from the Protoss, at least the Iron Hands may have a chance of being knocked out. But yeah, I don't think this Roaring Moon is likely to go down.
I mean,
I guess you're playing here for some critical hits.
Yeah.
If you knock out, in fact, if you knock out the Roaring Moon and the Iron Hands this turn, if the Amoongus isn't in the back, then
yeah, you might try. Talon Rush definitely picking the KO with the boost from Protosynthesis. And yeah, here the Roaring Moon is still like pretty safe on the field after the Tailwind goes out.
Yeah, I think the big thing in this position that we learned from game 1 is that the Great Tusk is faster than the Arcanine, and also that it isn't likely to have extreme speed. So yeah, I mean, the Fluttermane's still probably going to be faster. I didn't actually catch the Protosynthesis boost, but I'm assuming on a Fluttermane it's speed. At least more likely to be speed, unless Brede's trained it specifically. So, you know, if you get... Oh, wait, no.
Yeah, that's not Arcanine coming on the field, so... Like,
yeah, I was just about to be like, yeah, okay, we can definitely take this back for a win and go into game 3. But yeah, Fluttermane coming in there for Snow is definitely not what Brede wanted to see at all.
Yeah, and Fluttermane with the speed boost on Snow's side, I think is going to fire some Dazzling Gleam, and Brede has to go for Moonblast to try and pick up the KO onto the Roaring Moon. I don't think it's enough though. So yeah, Shadow Ball, okay. Yeah, sealing up the game. Honestly, that was the correct play. Yeah, okay, yeah, because Fluttermane doesn't have his Focus Sash. So yeah, this game I think was pretty closed on turn 1.
Yeah, I think it definitely it was a swing and a miss, but it was definitely a swing. I understand.
Yeah, it was worth a try for sure.
Like you've got to do something if you're one game down, and hey, it didn't work out. But you know, if Snow didn't play quite as defensively, then hey, it's a different game. You trade Roaring Moon for a Golden Go.
Yep.
And then Great Tusk is probably in an okay position against an Arcanine, depending on if the Terror went off, obviously, on the Roaring Moon. There's definitely some games to be played there.
Yeah, and as you said, if the Roaring Moon gets knocked out on turn 1 against the Arcanine, Fluttermane, and Iron Hands, the Great Tusk can just go for Earthquake 3 turns in a row and knock out everyone of the Snow's Pokemons, besides of the Arcanine with the Terra Flying. But yeah, talking about game 1, which is the game that was actually close. Snow.
just say it how it is. It's fine.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not trying to blame the game 2 from Brede. He was kind of forced to do some crazy stuff and crazy plays. Okay, Polar Bear is talking about the schoolyards, battlefields, so I'm going to let him talk with the Duckbone on chat, so let's talk about the games. Yeah, that turn where Snow went for the double status move, I think was really good from him, because burning the Markrow isn't a play that you usually go for. But in that specific turn, you wanted to keep the Among Us alive. I think that the Among Us would have survived also an Headlong Rush and a Brave Bird. Just like he took an Earthquake.
Probably.
Yeah, it took an Earthquake and the Brave Bird. But yeah, that was a very, very control and conservative play from Snow. So really, really good plays in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that sort of thing is like it shows the level of awareness, right? That Snow has of okay, so you could take a KO there on the Murkrow, or you could try to play more aggressively, but actually you know that if you burn the Murkrow, it's just a dead slot. It's not doing anything.
Yeah.
You know that its moves are Sunny Day and Tailwind, which you'd already used.
Yeah.
And Haze, which wasn't really relevant at all in the position.
Match.
Probably wasn't likely to be that relevant later in the game. So it's like, yeah, burn it, leave it on the field, no problem, and then just play a 2v1 game. It's a nice way of thinking about the match.
Yeah, and Sunny Day came into play like not at its best, in my opinion. It's a pretty underrated move on Murkrow, and Reddit tried to bring the game back, game 2, with Sunny Day and boosting his Paradox Pokemons, but it was not enough. And hope we can see more of Sunny Day in the future. Maybe with I was going to say maybe with Torkoal, but I don't want to see Torkoal actually. So let's keep it on Murkrow. But jumping onto the next matchup, Chitshot against Pazder, and you were saying some nice things about Pazder, and as you faced him like a few times lately.
Yeah, played Paz in the Lille Regional Championships where he got top 32. He quite handily beat me. I'm not embarrassed to say.
Yeah.
But he's one of the newer players from the Greek community, and I think real example of that community, really active and really good in these sort of team tournaments as well. But also just, a solid player that puts the effort in and works really hard. So yeah, I really do rate Paz very highly in these sort of things, and a very good team member for the Blizzards to have and pick up, and keep on their team. Yeah,
and as for Chitshot, Italian player, very, very good in these team tournaments. In the Italian draft league, he's always been a huge helper for his teams, and he always provides a huge testing time. And yeah, we can see that he also has some nice results in IRL and official tournaments in general. So he just got top 8 at Liverpool last month, so losing against another Italian in the top 8, and Players Cup 3 Globals Finals top 8. And I don't know if anyone else has these feeling, but I don't want to talk shit about the Players Cup, but the Players Cup 1 felt like a huge tournament, and then 2, 3, and 4 felt like not that much of a tournament. Tell me if it's one of my weird feelings, or if it's a common thing.
You know what? During that period, I didn't really participate in. I think I participated in Players Cup 1, but maybe I was part of the reason that you had that feeling, because I didn't play in 2, 3, or 4. I can't really comment to that. I was just having a look at the standings actually, and one of these times where the username and the real name doesn't quite marry up, because it's Chitshot is Francisco Pero, right?
Yep.
And I remember casting a few of the games that they played in Liverpool actually, and really, really good player, really consistent actually, and hadn't quite connected those two names together. So
yeah, it's actually, Francesco Piovero.
Yeah, this is a good. I'm excited for this match more now, because now I know.
Yeah. Now you know who the players are.
I don't think I've actually come across them in the online circuit that often, but definitely Liverpool was a good showing.
Yeah, so let's see what these two players had to offer. Like, let's see the content right now. Let's jump into the battle. Okay, wait. I'm going to bring it back. Okay, so we can talk about the team preview. And actually, okay, these are two teams that we've already seen. But yeah, I lied to you in the pre-live. I was telling you that we would have had a mirror, but this is not a mirror. Like, we have two teams that we've already seen throughout the evening.
And in fact, the two teams that won in their respective matches are going to be facing up against each other, but with two different pilots at the helm. So actually super interested to see how both of these players approached the same teams, whether they do this. I mean, obviously they're playing a different matchup and you see different things, but for example, we just saw Snow play that team very conservatively, and we'll see like whether Paz plays it a little bit more aggressively or in the same sort of way, and equally whether Kyriakou decides to go for that boosting mode or not more favorably.
I love this game. Yeah, a small indie company, as we've seen like under the battlefield, something I don't want to describe. And yeah, and we see the lead that Desu went for on game 2 of the first match we've featured today. And we see that kyriakou is going for a more offensive play. Like, he's not going for the nasty plot. He went for the Terra and make it rain. And looks like he wants to go for follow me right now, and that makes sense. But yeah, also Baby the Lies is going to threaten both of the opposing Pokemons to go at -1 attack.
Yeah,
likely.
I think definitely the Roaring Moon is going to be much more threatened. But I like the straight up offensive play from kyriakou if he carried on doing that, because the Palafin in the lead does pretty strongly telegraph a switch out, and it doesn't always happen. I think the best Palafin players know what they can do in baby form without actually switching. But certainly when it comes back onto the field, it's going to be in a good place. What's not going to be in such a good place, I think, is this Flutter main that's just switched in for Paz, especially seeing that Steel Terror coming out from the Golden Go and Make It Rain coming out onto the field. So, not such a defensive way of playing from Paz in this team. Similar, quite offensive play from kyriakou, and a lot of damage coming on Paz's side of the field.
Yeah.
But I think that's the thing when you're playing a team and you're bringing Palafin, sometimes you have to take a little bit of damage, like in the early game, and then let Palafin, bring it all back in the later game.
And that's why you usually want Palafin to switch out onto things like Iron Hand and Among Us, and you don't usually do that with a Flutter main. That's like, it's a damage dealer. Great turn 1 by my friend Pastor. Yeah, and then, losing a Pokemon.
Maybe that's telegraphing that Paz either doesn't have something to switch in, or maybe Paz thinking like, hey, I would expect kyriakou to go for something like Nasty Plot this turn, and is trying to take advantage of that.
Yeah, and actually, as you said, we can expect maybe the Among Us to be in the back for Paz there, because it's like he wanted to maybe keep it at full health. That's the main thing I'm thinking about. You wanted to keep the Among Us at full health for the late game. And here we see, a Dragon Dance from Paz there, like bringing the Roaring Moon back to +0 attack, matching the Baby the Lies. And the Nasty Plot here, pretty bold of kyriakou going for a Nasty Plot here. But yeah, he has to if he wants the Goldango to deal damage again. But yeah, of course, Palafin with the Wave Crash and the Terra, one hit knockout onto the mouse hold.
I like both sides here. I like what both sides are trying to achieve. You've got like the Dragon Dance, which helps for Pokemon in the back, for as trying to get themselves a little bit faster and stop that attack boost from being quite so damaging. You've got Chichiot trying to take advantage of maybe some defensive plays, especially surrounding Follow Me with the mouse hold, would have been able to stop the acrobatics going into, or the throat chop going into the Golden Go, and a follow-up from the Palafin. So, like, there was a nice opportunity to go for that nasty plot there. And I think, like, the other thing was that without the nasty plot, the Make It Rain probably wasn't going to knock out that Roaring Moon after the special attack drop there. So lots of factors as to why both of these players made the plays they did, but both, I think, doing well to find ways to boost themselves into a better position going into the sort of mid to end game.
Yeah, and here the nasty plot was kind of forced, as you said. It wouldn't have picked up knockout onto the Roaring Moon, and the Dragon Dance was his only way to exploit the setup turn from Chichot. But yeah, still being slower than the Iron Bundle, Freeze Drying is going to knock out the Roaring Moon, and Palafin protecting to maybe bring in the Among Us we were talking about, and going for a maybe Jet Punch can knock out the Golden Go this turn, I think.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, that's a sort of middling HP number from the Golden Go. Now that I've done my Golden Go HP number revision, it looks about middle of the road. So maybe with Terra Water, the Palafin can do that, depending on what its item is. If it's got a boosting item, then yeah, I wouldn't be super surprised.
Yeah, very likely to be
that Iron Bundle, and like kind of a tough position to be in when Palafin and Amoongus are both weak to freeze dry.
Yeah, and Jet Punch, as we have seen, gets knockout on Golden Go, and yeah, we were kind of expecting that, but I don't think it was like granted damage. And here Freeze Dry leaving the Palafin with 1 HP. I think it's maybe 1 or 2 HP.
Yeah, it's definitely not a lot. I'm really impressed that the Palafin was able to survive that turn.
Yeah.
And I guess now, like, it comes down to a question of how long does this Iron Bundle stay asleep, and does this Amoongus have something like Leaf Storm to be able to knock it out in one? And also, I didn't actually notice, maybe you can tell me whether that was a Focus Sash on the...
Yeah, that should be Focus Sash. Yeah, great task.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, let's see. Jet Punch coming into the Iron Bundle, doing far too much damage for a resisted hit on Iron Bundle. So that's a good start to the turn there. Really like the Pollen.
Yeah, Pazzer calling out the great task going to protect this turn, to bait the Palafin protect, and to waste a sleeping turn of the Iron Bundle. But yeah, Pazzer taking care of that protect and going for some damage on the Iron Bundle already, and bringing Palafin back to half HP.
I guess there's now mind games as like whether you see a protect like this or a Rage Powder coming out from the Amoongus, and how does Chichiot target to take the most advantage of it, because you've got to be really careful in this position. I really like the way that Headlong Rush goes directly into the Amoongus, and Chichiot not like falling for going into the slot that's protecting and just wasting a turn there, even though the Great Tusk goes to sleep this turn.
Yeah, and right now I think we have to see whether Wave Crash... for sure, Wave Crash and Jet Punch, like this combo will for sure get the knockout on the Iron Bundle. And yeah, this plays out around the sleep turns, I think. That's the only thing that's going to be preventing Pazzer from a safe win.
Yeah, because as soon as the Iron Bundle's down, then you can start going for Earthquake.
Wave Crash.
Wave Crash. I wouldn't be surprised if it knocked it out. Yeah, clean. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a really nice turn there for Paz.
Yeah, and that's a really nice and balanced Pokemon. Yeah.
Definitely a hero. Definitely a hero.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so nice wave crash there. So you just Jet Punch twice, and if the Great Tusk wakes up this turn, I guess it's the win for Chishiot.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, then it'll be the win for Paz.
Yeah, so let's see if the one turn wake up is going to be if it's going to be the case of this game. Let's see. Yeah. So Earthquake coming out from the Great Tusk. Ooh. How does it make sense?
This Palafin is something else.
Yeah, that Palafin
is like actually something else. Right.
I don't know.
After this match, I'm messaging Paz. I'm getting that Palafin.
Yeah, it's max HP, max attack, max def, and max special defense. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's like, who needs speed anyway? It's Palafin.
I don't know what happened. Yeah,
I mean, fair play. Like, I mean, that is exactly why we spend time like doing calcs and EV and stuff. It's just like, Paz is a good player, but I don't think Paz was sitting there in his team builder thinking,
yeah, how can I survive an earthquake?
Exactly
I have to leave an earthquake when I'm at 45% on the Palafin. Yeah, right. That's going to
yeah. But yeah, nice close game though. Really came down to it.
Yeah, and let's see if Chishiot maybe after game 1, where his opponent had 2 Pokemons, leaving with like 1 HP twice. Maybe he's kind of tilted. I know this guy. He's probably tilted. And let's see if he can like get the things together and win game 2.
Yeah, if he is, like, especially when you're really quite far ahead, I think, as Chishiot was in the early game with all the damage that came out from Make It Rain. Like, you got a free KO on Fluttermane. And if you think, like, if the Amoonguss switched in there instead, for argument's sake, and then it switched out and got some regenerator recovery, but then there was still a Fluttermane in the back. The game looks a lot different. So I think Chishiot's, even though he won the game, definitely got to be thinking about how to approach this game, because I think you needed a read in the early game to get the opportunity to win in the late game against that Palafin, because it was really a problem.
Yep.
Really a problem coming out there.
I think Pazder went for the right play, like sacking the Fluttermane on turn 1. Because if you think about it, maybe if it was brought out in the late game, it would have just taken an Ice Wind and a Headlong Rush. So the utility of that Fluttermane like wouldn't have been the one that Amoonguss had in the late game.
Yeah, probably, yeah. I mean, I guess it depends on how much damage the Amoonguss ends up with. But I like this. There's a nice little change up going on here from Chishiot coming into this game 2. The Iron Bundle in the lead against both Palafin and Roaring Moon is definitely going to put in more pressure than the Mousehold did, I think. Combinations of Icy Wind and others, and even just going straight for a Freeze Dry, followed by a Make It Rain, is really dangerous, and definitely something that Paz has to be careful of here.
Yeah, I think we're going to see an Ice Wind here, and Goldengo is kind of forced to go for the Terra if it doesn't want to take a huge Truck Chop. So yeah, we've seen, I think it was Terra and Nestplot. Ooh, and we have an adjustment on Pazder's side. I would say pretty huge adjustment, because he brought the switch in on Make It Rain.
Yeah, and looks like it's the same Terra Steel coming out from Chishiot in as in the first game. So we'll have to see how much this does. It's not going to be a lot to the Iron Hand.
Roaring Moon avoided the attack.
Oh, that's really big. But I guess Yeah, no damage. It's probably going to be knocked out the at least one of the following turns from the Fluttermane potentially here.
Yeah,
And a nasty plot as well. So the boosting turn there and the Terra Steel at the same time.
yeah, we have seen a kind of control and setup turn. The Dragon Dance and the Nasty Plot from the damage dealers, and Icewind to keep the speed down of the Roaring Moon, and Iron Hands coming on the field to threaten with the Fake Out and to take the Make It Rain quite comfortably.
I do like the adjustment there. And certainly 2 Dragon Dances is going to put this Roaring Moon in a position where it's going to be able to do a lot of damage. But yeah, the thing with Roaring Moon is that it can only target one thing at a time, and because of that, I really like this Mousehold switch in from Chichia.
Yeah, Mousehold coming in on the Iron Bundle side, and here we see a Fake Out going on to the Protect actually, so Iron Bundle would have been able to go for another Icewind, but yeah, here we see a Fake Out on the Golden Go that has a Covered Cloak, so I mean, this maybe was kind of a misplay from Paz there. Like,
yeah, that's maybe a case of not quite reading the team sheet as far as you want to be. Which, to be fair, I've got a lot of sympathy for, because I still can't read a bloody team sheet. But you know, that's us. But or at least me. But yeah, nice position now for. I kind of think both players have an okay position, but it looks like it's on Paz's side, because that Iron Hands is probably not going to be going down to an attack from even a 2+ Golden Go, and you know that you're going to be able to knock out the Mousehold if you really need to with that Roaring Moon as well.
Yeah, but we have seen a Protect on Mousehold and also on the Roaring Moon. And Chuck called out the Protect of Roaring Moon going for Shadow Ball, but yeah, that's like it, yeah, that's like no damage on the Iron Hands, even if the Golden Go is at +2 with the Nasty Claw. Shadow Ball doing quite few damage, like 35%.
Yeah, it's not the amount of damage that you really need to be doing here. And we know already that the Roaring Moon is going to be able to take a Make It Rain. Or maybe not a 2+.
No.
Even...
It was on yellow health after the Make It Rain without
so
the +2.
Actually, yeah.
So yeah, it might be roll.
Let's see. Yeah, okay. So a knockout there, but whatever fighting move is coming out from this Iron Hands is going to be able to do a lot of work. Drain Punch. Yeah, okay. So
takes the Drain Punch, but
go on low health, but
yeah, Iron Hands going back to full.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's a
rough position.
But then, you know, I think it's a trade you've got to make if you're Trichiop, because if you don't make that trade, then you have a 2+ Roaring Moon in front of you and no Mousehold left. So yeah, if you're Chichiot, it's a trade that you've got to make. But Palafin coming out here is going to allow Paz to just attack wherever Paz decides it's most relevant. And there's no speed control there that's going to stop it doing so.
Yeah, I think Chichat could have maybe switched out Mousehold the previous turn to keep the Follow Me, because you know you're going to leave an attack of Roaring Moon with Golden Go, even if it's at +2. And maybe you needed the Follow Me to be in play for the Jet Punch here.
Right.
I think that was that's play I would have made if I was to play this game myself. But yeah, here we see the Terra Grass of Iron Hands to get to resist those ground type attacks from Great Tusk. And actually Chichot predicted it and went for close combat on Iron Hands, not quite enough. And Iron Hands going to retaliate with, Drain Punch, going to deal slightly over 50%. And that's a huge damage, because you know you're going to kill it with the next Drain Punch, and Iron Hands cannot be ignored this turn.
No, not at all. And then there's the Jet Punch that can go straight into the Golden Go on Chichiot's side. So really, Paz has got all of the momentum here. We know that there's an Iron Bundle in the back that we can see. And so you've got to be careful if you're Chichiot how you pivot in, because if you're going to be bringing the bundle in to take one of the attacks, you better have it be the Jet Punch from the Palafin and not the Drain Punch coming out from that Iron Hands. Because that's a surefire way to get yourself into an even worse position.
Yeah, here, if you're Chichiot, you have to call out where the Jet Punch is going to be clicked by Pazder. And yeah, he called the right spot, but close combat going on to... this damage... Okay, and we get to see the home menu of Chichiot. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, it's... Yeah, okay. Nice. Chichiot pro player stays cool.
Yeah, it's a really nice switch up in targeting there from Paz catching that iron.
I thought you were going to talk about Mario Kart. Yeah, it's a really nice game.
I saw Cuphead on the end of that home menu. That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, like it's a nice way to switch it up, and yeah, I think
we see the forfeit
here in this position there from Chichiot. So yeah, really nicely played and positioned there by Paz, not needing that Palafin to survive on one health twice.
Yeah, I mean, we can expect maybe that something like Chichiot smashing the controller and the Joy-Cons on the table happened right there.
You know what? I think Chichiot was about to start playing a different game.
Okay, yeah. He was going to send me like a recording of Cuphead. This is the game. I don't want to be featured.
that would be good. Next time, Chichiot.
Next time I'm going to ask like for a different kind of game. Pazder built different. I mean, I think his spreads are different from the ones we're all using, because I have no idea how his Pokemons can take all of those moves without dying. That's huge.
Yeah, he's like just we don't know. Maybe there was a little bit of rolls going on, and maybe they're in Paz's favor, maybe they're in Chichiot's favor. We'll not know. But either way, like even with those rolls, the way that they were, if you look at how Paz played from a pretty difficult position in the early game.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with what you said earlier, that the Fluttermane was the right Pokemon to bring in and get knocked out in game one. But it was a really nice way for Paz to play the game to come back. Like everything, even and actually when you think even further about how the end of that game one went, the Great Tusk woke up as quickly as it could, right?
Yep.
So everything was going against Paz, but the way that Paz played it, and that like side pollen puff was completely clutch in the end game, where you think, well, maybe it could have gone for a bit of damage or done something else, tried to spore into a protect or whatever. You see the effect of all of the way all of the moves that Paz played, and that led to the opportunity to win the game, and that's what happened. So yeah, really like even though we can look at the 1 HP, I think it's more important to look at what led us up to the opportunity there, definitely.
Yeah, and at the end of game one, actually, Pazder did a right thing, fully predicting the protect from the Great Tusk. Because right. I think a mistake that people often make is like half predicting a play. So you go for Jet Punch on the Iron Bundle, but you also go for Spore on the Great Tusk. That's a play like right in the middle, and that's not going to give you any kind of advantage. And if you go for like the full prediction, going for the healing on Palafin, that's what you get. And about Mario Kart 8, like they asked me, I think, in the chat. So there is this Italian guy, Shin, which is a dude from Rome, and he had to go for, I think, an 8 hours trip to go to Milan in 2022. Okay, to the special event, and halfway through, he checked his bag, and he found out he brought Mario Kart and not Pokemon. So a friend gave him a spare cart. But yeah, that's kind of what happened. And maybe Chichot wanted to make a shout out. I don't think so, but
I mean, you know, if so, fair play. I didn't know that story, so that's one that I'm going to be keeping in the memory banks, because that's unfortunate.
Pretty unfortunate, yeah. I think we can close on this note of Mario Kart 8. Thank you everyone for following the stream. And I won't be back actually for next week. And there is game like week 1 here, and I just noticed that the whole time was like there was game like week 1. But yeah, that's cool. And like for next week, I'm not going to be casting because I will be in Bochum. And I think Evan Smoke will take my place. So yeah, just go follow Evan Smoke. I'm going to like drop the link here real quick. And so yeah, make sure you tune in on his live. I think it's going to be on Monday. I think, yeah, should be on Monday. Here's the link to Evan Smoke Twitch account. And thank you all for being there tonight. Have a nice one. Bye, guys.